I know that everybody are doing. Chelsea, we've got absolutely smashed today, smashed and battered, you know, by Brighton. That was an absolute spineless, gutless, weak, messy performance from start to finish. There's there's no player that you would say who played well. From Cole Palmer, to Nkunku was his usual passenger self, pedestrian, jogging all through the game. Um, what's his face? Uh, Gusto didn't do much. Jorgensen, this is your opportunity. Audition, stake a claim for that number one shirt. Couldn't. Awful, awful performance. The two of the goals he considered were his fault because it was the one at the near post for the third goal. How how did he not save that? Cole will. Now let's talk about Levi Cole. Levi Colwill, Chelsea fans, Levi Colwill is not all he's cracked up to be. This hype is a nice, decent young player that could, at some point in his career, grow up to be, a top defender. But right now, the level that he's been hyped to be is nowhere near. Levi Colwill, no, no, no. And I don't want to see this Shaloba and Colwill pairing anymore. It just isn't going to work. It just isn't going to work. And then this players having to invert, fullbacks having to invert all game long, it's not working. It's not working. And then for all those of you who have been on Noni Maduike's case, Neto is better than him, Neto is better than him. Neto had, you know, let's say 70 minutes or more to really show us that, yeah, he's better than Maduike because Maduike unfortunately got injured, a muscular injury. Hope he comes back quickly. But he got injured, went off. Pedro Neto offered nothing, absolute nothing, absolute nothing. And then Cucurella tried his bit, but that was not enough. Nkunku, for me, I think Enzo Maresca should have a one-to-one talk with him and say, "You want to leave, and you don't want to really play, then don't even bother selecting him." Because I, for one of those people who was like, Nkunku is a better finisher than Jackson. He should be giving more game time, but he wasn't given that game time. I think his head is no longer at Chelsea. He doesn't look up for anything. Doesn't look up for a fight. Doesn't even try to run in behind for anything. So I think he shouldn't bother playing. He shouldn't bother playing at all. I've had enough of Nkunku. He shouldn't bother playing at all because it's one thing to see someone who's actually trying, and you see someone he has all the quality in the world, but is doing nothing. So for me, Nkunku, I don't want to see Nkunku anymore. Caicedo, this was one of the worst games I've seen Caicedo play this season. He's been very good, but he was so poor, so poor this season. On the ball, so poor. Held on to the ball too long. Held on to the ball too long. Now, I want to point out something before I forget because I know the Chelsea team was shambolic. Was bad, spineless, poor performance today. Poor performance today. Even worse than the FA Cup game. And that's saying something. You know. But the official, the goal Enzo Fernandez scored was chopped off because apparently he had his arms in the Brighton's defender's back. Apparently. Okay. Then why wasn't, Welbeck, why wasn't the foul given against Welbeck? He had his arm all the way in Liverpool's back, and then he fouled him, and he said, "Play on." How are you saying play on? How did you win the ball? So that's that. But where I just knew the game was going on when Enzo Maresca's goal was chopped off. I mean, Enzo Fernandez's goal was chopped off. I just knew that was it. The game was over. There was no grit, no fight back. Second half, I don't think Chelsea had no shot on target. Chelsea had no shot on target in the second half. And I've been saying this all through. People keep arguing, but it's just there for you to see. Even if you don't believe me, believe what you see with your eyes. Believe what you see with your eyes. Pedro Neto can't play that inverted right winger position. He just can't. For whatever reason, he can't. He's more suited to being an orthodox left winger. And fair play to Maresca, he played him at that left wing position, but he got in. Normally he got injured, so that meant he had to switch this around. And then Jadon Sancho, I think for me, he just likes holding on to the ball, like the sexy touch on the ball, flick streaks, but he's not ready to run in behind. There was an opportunity, I think it was a counter attack, just on the counter attack, and then the ball was played to him. He somehow found a way to get the ball and run out rather than running towards goal and run out and pass the ball. So this performance was absolutely gutless, a gutless performance, Chelsea fans. I don't know what you think about it. I'd like your thoughts and opinions in the chat there. But this was a silly, bad, poor performance. Poor performance. I think the only sort of, would I say, silver lining or positive that I would take from this game is Tariq George got to play. That's it. The academy boy comes in and played. And he actually was able to, a couple of times, dribble past Lamptey. And Neto wasn't able to do that the whole game. The whole time he was playing, he wasn't able to do that. Now, if you watch my preview to the game, I said this is the game where I want to see Enzo Maresca be brave. And he didn't show me that bravery. I know I'm not saying Chimi Mueka would have been a solution or anything, but one thing was clear. There was no pressure from any striker. And you've seen it I think the past two games Nkunku has played, he has no desire of putting anybody under pressure. So for me, you can have all the quality in the world, you can be, the world best player, but if you're not willing to show your ability on the pitch, then there's no point. There is just no point to have you on the pitch. If you're not willing to show your ability on the pitch, then there's no point being there. There's no point being there. There's just no point being there on the pitch. And then this thing of having wingers always inverting, no dynamism. You could even see from Malagusto how he was, would I say, terrified, or it's almost like Enzo Maresca has drained this into their brain. Don't ever go on the outside. Don't ever overlap. So even when opportunities came up, to go on the overlap, he didn't do it. He didn't do it. And that's the kind of dynamism I wanted to see. You can overlap, you can underlap, you can invert, but be dynamic. There was none of that. There was none of that. And I have to say this. The board, the sporting directors or whatever, I think this job is too big for them. I think they still feel like they're managing a club like Brighton. Obviously, but Brighton beat Chelsea today, fine. They still think they're managing a club that doesn't have any aspirations. Because how do you go into, the January market without signing any striker? Because I know it's easy for us to say, oh, Nicholas Jackson helps the team play well. Nicholas Jackson, it's because Nicholas Jackson is out, that's why Chelsea have lost. It's easy for people to say that because his striker is injured, he's out, so that means it must be because he's not there. But let's face it, Nicholas Jackson had been on poor form. Nicholas Jackson had been on poor form going into the January window. He's not scored. I think he's stuck on 9 goals so far. And then you go into general market and you refuse to sign any striker. You refuse to sign any striker, and then it's almost like clockwork. Once general window slams shut, injuries. Jackson gets injured, McGee gets injured. So I'm saying, Enzo Maresca is best you go to the academy. I'm not, like I said in my preview, I'm not one of those people that go and say, oh, every Cobham graduate is as good as every World Cup player. No. But the way it is, Nkunku is not going to give you that fight in the game that you need. Nkunku will not give you that fight you need in the game. So I think it's best you just get an academy striker, put him on there, and let him give you that effort. Because Nkunku is better than every academy striker 2 billion times in terms of ability, skill, technique. But if he's not going to show you if he's not going to, show his ability on the pitch, if he's not willing, to fight, not even for the club badge, that's not even what I'm talking about, to fight for your own self, either to make that spot your own or to put yourself in the shop window in such a way that you have the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern, Dortmund coming for your signature, coming to get you in the summer window. If you're not willing to do that, then what's the point? There was a cross, a ball that was coming over the top, and Nkunku just refused to do anything. He just stood there. The defender won the ball, easy, happy days for Brighton, and then that was it. So performance was just poor. Enzo Maresca, poor. I keep saying this. Modern coaches, they come with their style of play. They my philosophy of football, my idea of football, and even if they're losing, even if the team is playing terribly, they don't want to change it. And I said it in the preview that Brighton will play the way they always play. High line, high pressing, there'll be space in behind. You have to look to take advantage of that high line. You have to look to take advantage of that space in behind. And Enzo Maresca, that's why I said he tried to make a change when Modric went out, but I would have brought a Tariq George on. Not because I'm saying he's better than Sancho, but he has that pace that you need to go behind the back line of Brighton. Because he has that in him to go behind Brighton. So, but Sancho, nah. Sancho can play against low blocks. That's where he thrives. But when he's playing up against teams that have a high line, no, he can't. Chalobah has had one good game. Chalobah has had one good game, and that was the Wolves game. I remember everyone sounding like Chalobah was the defensive messiah. Oh, recall Chalobah. Chalobah coming back. Oh, if I'm Chalobah, I won't come back. Oh, they let me go. Tosin, I've said this before. At the end of the day, football is still a sport. Football is still a physical contest. And he has more experience. Tosin should be starting. I don't see how Colwill is better than Tosin. I don't see it. Each time Tosin comes on the pitch, each time he gets the chance to play, he shows that I'm not saying he's the new Thiago Silva or John Terry, but he's way better than Tosin, better than Chalobah, better than Colwill, better than Chalobah. So he should be starting. Either you have Colwill paired with him, or you have Chalobah paired with him, or even Anselmino, he was on the bench today. You could have Tosin and Anselmino, Tosin Chalobah, or Tosin Colwill, but never pair Colwill and Chalobah anymore, because that's just a disaster. It's not even just disaster waiting to happen. You can already see that it's a disaster. It's just a disaster. Colwill is good passing the ball. That's it. His awareness is not there. This idea of Rolls Royce defender, no, spare me that. This idea of a Rolls Royce defender, no. If you don't have awareness, you can't be a Rolls Royce defender. The second goal, he was at fault for it. He was at fault for the second goal. And he caused the second goal. The cross came in, rather than clear the ball, he almost scored a non-goal, and Jorgensen had to save it. And he was right there on the line when Yankuba Minte took the shot, and he did nothing. No attempt to block the ball, no attempt to slide, nothing. Ended up ball in the back of the net. And I say, Philip Jorgensen, he hasn't covered himself in glory today. No, he just hasn't. So for me, I think it's just a toss-up right now. Right now, I don't care anymore. It could be him, it could be Sanchez, because they're more or less the same thing. And that goal scored by Mitoma. Good run by him, but that is a shot you should be saving. That's a shot a goalkeeper should be saving. Some people might say maybe it's because he's a small goalkeeper in terms of stature, but that is a game. That's a goal. That's a shot you should have saved. You should have saved that. And then there was a near post shot for the third goal that Minte, the shot Minte took. That was a shot you should have saved. But somehow it just whizzed past him back of the net. And that's why I've said this to these sporting directors and everything. You need to get the absolute best players you can get. Because once you allow these things get into the hands of these poets and script writers called officials and referees, you're always going to lose. You're always going to get hot. Because That was a foul on Colwill. The referee refused to give it. And it was the very same reason that Enzo Fernandez's goal was chopped off. Arm in the back, chopped off, goal cancelled. Same thing happened, the referee refused to give it. That's why you buy the absolute best players. And you have to be smart in the market. Rather than sign a striker, you go and you sign Martis Amalgo. I don't have anything against the player. He's a young player, 19 years old, a midfielder. But is that what the club needs? People keep talking about, oh, they want to make money, they want to make money. The best way to make money in football is get into Champions League, winning titles, because even the players you want to sell, their value increases when you get into the Champions League. When you're competing for title, their value increases. But when you're struggling to to qualify for the Conference League, when you're struggling to get top four, then the value of the players, of your second string players that you want to sell, as for Dewsbury Hall, what does he contribute? Either he's not good enough or his confidence has been shot. You had Vega, you let Vega go, and now the only option you have at left back is nobody. You don't have any option at left back anymore. And Colwill just keeps dropping stinker after stinker after stinker in central back position. He just keeps dropping stinker after stinker. He is just not good enough. Levi Colwill, no, he's not good enough. He isn't good enough, in my opinion. He's not good enough. And then who else on the pitch played well? Yeah, Enzo Fernandez, not really. Moises Caicedo, not really. Held onto the ball too long. And Brighton were really aggressive today. And I'll go back to the official. I know going back to an official when you lost 3-0 isn't like what people may say is something you want to do. But they were so physical, so aggressive today. And the referee, for the most part, let them do what they wanted to do. And I was seeing little bits and bobs where a Chelsea player would do something similar to what a Brighton player would do. There will be a foul against Chelsea. And then when a Brighton player does it, it's play on and they go and you can see they go that way. This was just silly bad performance. Bad performance. It just seems everything just going from bad to worse. I wasn't expecting this. I was never expecting Chelsea to win the title, but at least be in top four. But now top four because Man City and Newcastle play, tomorrow, and what that game will not be a draw. The only way Chelsea remains in the top four is if Man City and Newcastle draw. But the way it is, one of them would win. Because Newcastle could very well win against Man City because Man City haven't been very good this season. I know Chelsea made them look superb. Now, there's one thing I keep saying about Enzo Maresca. You have to be dynamic. Look at Ancelotti. Real Madrid playing Man City. They were struggling in the first half. Then, second half, change it up. Okay, I'll just put the ball in for Mbappe. I'll put the ball in for Mbappe. The game changed. I know Nicholas Jackson wasn't on the pitch today. He wasn't on the pitch today. So, but there were things you could have done. The things you could have done. Sincerely, I want to say it. Nkunku, it was nice you've come in here. Maybe at the end of the season, you go home with a Conference League medal around your neck and you leave the club. But I don't want to see him anymore. I don't want to see Nkunku start a game anymore. I rate his ability, I rate his talent, but I don't rate his effort. I don't rate what he gives on the pitch. And Palmer, well, Palmer was missing today as well. So and obviously not just him, everyone else. Palmer was missing today. He didn't have options, and that's why you should have your fullbacks overlapping from time to time, especially when you have your wingers inverting, because you give your number 10, you give your central midfielders options. Yeah, pass the ball to wide on the left, pass the ball wide on the right. You need to give those options. We didn't see these options this whole game. Nothing. We are holding on to the ball way too long. Players are holding on to the ball way too long. And Maresca run out of ideas. I think, like I said, go to the academy. I don't care if it's Chizere one time you want to get, or Shemi Mueka, or maybe you even go and cut short David Washington's loan from Santos. Maybe you do that recording because it's Nkunku is going to give you nothing. That's the way I've seen it. He's not going to put in any effort in terms of getting to goal. It's like he wants to hover around the midfield and stay there. He doesn't even get the ball and run towards goal. He just hovers there and he's cheating the team right now. West Ham game, he did the same thing. This game as well, the Brighton game, FA Cup game, he did the same thing. He's cheating his teammates. So for me, Nkunku shouldn't be starting at all. Shouldn't be starting at all. And then who else in this team? Did anyone? Nobody performed well. Like I said, Terry George, my man of the match because a youngster, he's come on, he's tried from a Chelsea perspective. I'll make you a man of the match if we need to make a Chelsea player a man of the match from Chelsea perspective. So point directors, you have to change your style, you have to change your philosophy, you have to change the way you recruit. Because if you want to win, you need to get out the best players. Because these officials will always hurt you. Officials will hurt you. Look at the goal, the third goal for Brighton. No VAR looked at it, nothing. It was just boom. So if you let key decisions remain in the hands of the officials, you're going to get hurt because they are in the game to write stories, to create narratives for themselves. They want to be important. They want to be important in the game. But that aside, this was a messy performance. It was spineless. It was gutless. There was at no point in the game did you feel like Chelsea were a threat to Brighton. At no point. At no point in the game did you feel like, oh, Chelsea right now, okay, we know we're goal down. We know we're 2 goals down. We're even 3 goals down. We're not we're putting an effort. We're really fighting. We're getting stuck in. We're putting them under serious pressure. They're hanging on for dear life. At no point did you ever feel that. There was no spine. There was no gut. There was no grit. There was no, come on. There was nobody geeing anybody up the whole game. It was terrible. This game is, it was worse than watching paint dry. This is more like, it would have been better to have pin, to have a nail put in your eyes because it was such a bad performance. Bad performance. Bad performance. And this striking thing has come back to haunt the club. They wanted to be too smart. They wanted to be too cute about things. Ended up hurting the team. You had the Victor Osimhen, you could have signed. You refused to sign him for whatever reason, offering him silly contracts that a player of his level would not accept. And you anointing that you were the only club, Chelsea was the only club that was in the running to sign him. You didn't sign him. Oh, Sesko, you didn't sign. And what makes it even more annoying is that the sporting directors, you knew Jackson has always been struggling all through the past 2 seasons. He hasn't covered himself in glory. Like, he hasn't scored that many goals, like 20 goals, 25 goals. Okay, we've got a sure banker striker. You don't have a sure banker striker. And you refuse to sign a striker. You refuse to sign a striker. Even before Jackson, you knew Chelsea needed a striker. You refused to sign a striker all through. Then you get to January, you manage to find yourself in the top 4. You see how Jackson is struggling. You refuse to sign a striker still. You refuse to sign a striker still. And then transfer window is short. Enzo Maresca is making excuses. Oh, you can't be playing the same day when the transfer window ends. What does that mean? If you wanted to sign a striker, would you be waiting till the last day? You wouldn't be waiting till the last day. The moment the window is open, you know what you need. I need a striker, I need a defender. You go there and have it done. And I was saying, even if you couldn't get those top level strikers, at least you have someone like Emmanuel Emega. He's in Strasbourg, he's scoring goals after striker. Could have brought him in. Now, I don't know if these people would actually go into the free agent market and look to get 1 or 2 people in. Maybe get a Diego Costa in on a free. At least he would put a lot of players through the wall. At least you put a lot of players through the wall. give them a kick up their backside and get them, aggressive to play. Because this game was just spineless. Once the goal went in from Brighton, we're like, come on, there's no way we're getting back into this. The second goal went in. He just from that moment, even the most optimistic Chelsea fan w- immediately would have just said it's over. There's no way we're getting back in this. And unfortunately, that's so true. It's so true. Such an awful performance. An awful performance. I can't even tell you to like, subscribe, anything because this performance was just so poor. So poor. I wasn't expecting this kind of performance. So poor. I wonder what your thoughts are on solutions for the team. Like for me, Nkunku, wrap yourself in cotton wool. You know, summer window, you be gone. Get a striker from the academy and just have them there. It's an academy striker. It's better you have a striker who is trying and to have someone that has all the ability and is not trying. And also, let's not make this mistake to think it's just only a striker thing. Get a striker and drop in there. A striker is a huge part of it. But the certain parts of the game, the way the team wants to play, the way Enzo Maresca chooses to set the team up, and the annoying part is that he is not dynamic in terms of how the players then adapt to challenges put by the opposition team. He doesn't adapt the team. The team doesn't adapt. Go two goes down, you still play the same slow way, side to side, side to side, side to side. You can't be playing that way. You can't be playing that way. You must show some level of dynamism. Because you're not just playing against yourself. You're playing against a team that wants to get the points as well, not just you. You as Chelsea, we want to get the 3 points. But Brighton as well, like they got today, they also want to get the 3 points, which means they will set up in ways to frustrate how you want to play or to counteract the way you want to play. And when they do that, what do you then do? What is your response? If your response is let's keep doing the same thing that we've been doing, we're losing, but we're doing the same thing, then that is the exact definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Playing a game, inverting fullbacks constantly, and you're going a goal down, 2 goals down, 3 goals down, not changing anything. And sometimes the substitution, like I said, the substitution, Sancho shouldn't have come on. I know you want to say he's more experienced than Tyreek George, but he shouldn't have come on because he lacks that one thing. He lacks pace and he lacks that directness to go in behind. He always wants it ball to feet, ball to feet. So I can do some flicks. When it works, it looks beautiful. Hold the ball, not make a player, but to run in behind, take advantage of the space behind the fullbacks of Brighton. Sancho wouldn't give you that. That's not his style of play. He won't give you that. And like I said, your Palmers, your Enzo Fernandezes, they need options. They need to hold the ball, and when they look up, they see someone making runs into the box. They see someone running, making runs behind the opposition fullback. This performance, a messy performance, Chelsea fans. It's a horrible performance. Like I was watching the game, and what am I watching? Is this Chelsea playing? Now, for me, I've said it before. I'm not one of those standard FC people. Oh, Chelsea must win, get 114 points, score 200 goals. No, you know where you are. But when you start losing to teams like Brighton, I'm sorry, you start losing to teams like Brighton, start losing to teams like Bournemouth, Fulham, and you think it's normal, then you're not ready to progress. Because despite the fact of how the media how they praise Brighton, the way they're managed, blah 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 blah, they are not that good themselves. So you can't be losing to Brighton and think that it's a good result and think that it's a normal result and think it's part of your progression. It's not part of your progression. Chelsea, my object for Chelsea this season was to be the best of the rest. Maybe Liverpool ahead of you, maybe Arsenal ahead of you, maybe Man City ahead of you. Then everyone else, you should be beaten. At the worst case scenario, you get a point off those teams. When a Brighton beats you back to back, beats you in the cup, knocks you out, beats you again in the Premier League game when you should be looking to get the top four. And that has been the bane of Chelsea this season. Each time it's come to win this game, get into somewhere, win this game, top, win against Everton and get to top of the league for a couple of hours against ahead of Liverpool, end up dropping points. Okay, win this game and then get to second spot, lost. Get to Carabao Cup quarterfinals, win against Liverpool against Newcastle, and get there, lost point. I mean, lost again against Brighton, win Brighton, and get to the next one FA Cup, lost that one. Today, win and cement your spot in the top four. If you get 5 points ahead of Man City and Newcastle, if they win, you still get 2 points. If they draw, you're still ahead of them with some a good margin. But the way they've been playing, boy, such a poor performance, man, such a poor performance. I don't know what what your suggestions. I'm biting my tongue. What your suggestions are? What do you think should happen? Should Enzo Maresca go? I've said it. I'm not an Enzo Maresca out, but for me, every coach, the way you set your team up, the work of your hands will determine what happens to you. The work of your hands will determine what happens to you as a coach. The results will determine what happens to you. And I've said it. Once you come, I said it when Pochettino was Chelsea coach, and I'll say it again because I'm going to be fair and objective. Once you start doing all these things like I'm going to play centre back at left back or right back, I'm going to take the full back and rather than let him overlap, I'm going to squeeze him into the midfield. Once you start doing all those things, you're now putting a pressure on yourself that you should be winning. You should be winning and you shouldn't be getting trashed by Brighton 3-0. Such a poor performance. You can't be getting trashed by Brighton 3-0 when you start doing all this thing. That means you're putting pressure on yourself that you must win. But what's happened? Poor performances. Poor performance. And this is just symptomatic of what was happening, under Pochettino. Games you should be winning, you end up losing them. Games you should be winning, you end up losing them. And all these things have come from Maresca playing around with the team. He had the team set up in a particular way. You were winning, we're winning. He tried to criticize players, dropping players when you shouldn't have dropped them. And now the team is where it is. The team is where it is because if you won the Everton game, the couple of games they were there for the winning, if you had played certain players in their rightful positions, Chelsea would have been at least comfortably in top four. But now you can only hope and pray for Newcastle and Man City to draw tomorrow. That's the only way Chelsea remains in top four this weekend. Otherwise, just out of the top four. And I think if Man City is able to get in the top four and have any points gap, I think that's over. I know Man City have been bad this season, but I think they will be able to win enough games to remain in top four. If Man City are able to get into the top four, then it's curtains. It's curtains for Chelsea. It's curtains. So I want to know your thoughts and opinions. And what do you think, going into the next games? Who do you think should start? Do you think a complete change of the formation? Maybe go to a proper a narrow 4-3-3 or go to 5 at the back. What do you think? Because for me, something has got to give. You can't have another season where you're not in the Champions League. You can't have another season where you're not in the Champions League. And for me, two things are true. The way Enzo Maresca is setting up this team, the way he sets up this team is really bad. It's really, really bad in my opinion. And his lack of dynamism is a problem as well. But also the sporting directors, they don't do this team any favors. It's almost like when the team is playing, they're watching something else, like they're watching hockey or they're watching, pool or snooker, as opposed to watching the game and seeing the areas where the team, lacks quality. Because what they're trying to say, we're waiting to get in the Champions League, then we'll spend the big bucks. If you don't spend enough it's funny, you spent 1.5 billion and not really, you know, uh, uh, um, improve the squad that much. 1.5 billion was spent on network players, potential players, rather than spending it on players that can help you now get into the top four, so you can attract even more, of these superstar talents that you think, these wonder kid talents that you think you want to get. If you get into the top four, then for sure, you can attract more players, you can attract better sponsorship deals and make more money. If that's what you're in the game for, just to make money, then you would have been able to do that. But now, let the January window. This is the worst January transfer window I've seen Chelsea since I've been supporting Chelsea, and it's been decades and decades and decades. So this is the worst window I've seen because there was a glaring need to sign a striker. You refused to sign a striker, and now this is where the team is. Levi Colwill, not good enough. Not good. Tosin should be ahead of him, or he's paired with Tosin. Otherwise, no way. Malo Gusto is not an inverted fullback. In fact, what is even an inverted fullback? There's no such thing as inverted fullback. This is just this modern football crazy thing. There's no such thing as inverted fullback. You should be able to overlap, underlap, and provide support that way. But this idea of having your fullback stuck in that mode in the midfield, there's no benefit to it, in my opinion. Because though today you may say Chelsea had possession, but was there any point in the game when you felt like Chelsea were dominating Brighton? No, I don't think you would be able to say that without lying. That Chelsea actually dominated Brighton. No. When you check the stats, Chelsea had more possession. But actually dominating with that possession, making Brighton uncomfortable. That didn't happen. So the benefit of the inverted fullback, I can't quite see it. I can't quite see it. And they should be dynamic anyway. They should be dynamic anyway. I said this again. I think it is time you just deal with what you have. You don't have any striker, any recognized striker in the way. Jackson will be out for about 6 weeks. Same thing with McGee. For me, you go to the academy, get someone, an academy striker, and just give them a run. Give them a run because it's almost like this season right now has been thrown away. Almost like the season right now has been thrown away because there's nothing you're competing for. The Conference League, the way this team is playing, I know it may seem harsh to say this. Chelsea may not win that Conference League. You keep playing this way. I'm telling you, because you have Fiorentina. Fiorentina can shock you. Fiorentina can shock you. If you keep playing this way, you can be shocked. You can be shocked because it's not a question of there's no effort. Like today, there wasn't any effort from anybody. There was no effort. And once again, I'll say, Noni Madueke, everybody likes to criticize him. He's too selfish. He's this. He takes a picture. People criticize him. But now, you've seen it. He went off. Pedinetto, have your way. Field day. Go ahead. Play the left, that right wing. Own it today. And he contributed nothing. Jadon Sancho, for me, is someone that shouldn't be starting. At this point, it's amazing how his form was dipped. And back to Enzo Maresca again. I have to say this. Back to Enzo Maresca again. He's done this a couple of times when you're playing against a team with high line. He's done this again. He did this against Liverpool. He did this against Brighton, the first leg, and in the FA Cup, and he's done it again today. Against teams that play high line that you need people to get him behind. Today he can be forgiven a little bit because he actually started Pedinetto and non Madueke. Madueke got injured. But even for me, as with Madueke injured, I would have brought in Tariq George in. So for me, this game, it just seems to me everything just going to be bad, going from bad to worse, bad to worse, bad to worse. I think that's what it just feels to me. Maybe I'm just, still sore coming off the back of a defeat, because the game just ended like inside this live stream. So maybe that's it. But I don't see any light, at the end of the tunnel. right now. I just think this season we win the Conference League, maybe finish in Europa League spots. And if you finish in Europa League spots, you know what's going to happen. The sporting directors will say it was a good finish. We've progressed. We know European football, the Conference League, and now Europa League. That's a good progression. But it's not actually. It's not. It's not. And sorry, I'm sorry, every other Chelsea fan that you think Abramovich will come back because they've downgraded the sanctions and all that thing had nothing to do with what was happening in Russia and Ukraine. So maybe they come back to buy Chelsea. It's not going to happen. So we are stuck with these people, and that's why I didn't want them in the first place because the way they look at things is just crazy. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. You want to save a buck. That definition of penny wise, pound foolish. You have a top class striker you should have signed, you refused. You have young promising strikers that you should have signed, you didn't sign them. World class striker Victor Osimhen, you didn't sign. Sesko, a young upcoming striker that is proving himself gradually, you refuse to sign. And now your David Washington that is meant to be academy, the player you signed, the young prospect is actually a striker, 6 foot one, pace and all that, you refuse to use him. Now McGill injured. Nicholas Jackson injured. People that would have provided cover, he let them go. He caused them to leave, like your João Felix. He's gone. He's gone to AC Milan. And one excuse I don't want to hear from Enzo Maresca: oh, the squad is too small. Oh, we're having injuries. No, Enzo Maresca, you don't have. You're not in the place to make such statements. You're not, because you had a healthy squad in terms of numbers, and you messed around with it. You messed around with the confidence of Vega, he had to leave. You messed around with the confidence of João Felix, how you used him, he's gone. You messed around with the confidence of Nkunku, his confidence is ever. I don't think it's confidence. I just think his mind is not there anymore, and it's the way he's been treated. So he's gone. So for me, Nelson Maresca, you don't get to make the excuse of the team is too, the squad is too small. You have to deal with it, in my opinion. You have to deal with it. And for me, Cole Palmer, Cole Palmer, Cole Palmer. He's struggling, he's struggling, he's struggling. He didn't seem available in this game. The FA Cup game, he didn't seem available as well. You know. And in one hand, I want to blame him because his form is dipping. On the other hand, I want to blame Enzo Maresca as well because you need to give the likes of Palmer options. People try to bring Palmer into the conversation of Eden Hazard. You can't do that because Eden Hazard today would have gone past 3, 4 players today. He would have. Eden Hazard would have gone past 3, 4 players today. So Palmer is not in that class yet. He doesn't even have. He's not as pacey as Eden Hazard was. So, but he's the most important player of the team. And if they mark him out because you don't give him the options to play the ball out to, then how will the team play? The team won't be able to play, in my opinion. So for me, we have to find there have to be solutions. There have to be solutions. For me, and that's why I was calling for Mike Penders. Speaking about the goalkeeper, because Robert Sanchez, we know he's error prone. He's error prone. He's not good with the ball at his feet. He makes some nice saves, but he's error prone. Philip Jorgensen is a bit smaller. He doesn't make as many mistakes, but he's not much better than Robert Sanchez. So for me, I would say Mike Penders. I think it's best you call him 6'7". He's big enough. He's decent with the ball at his feet, or maybe you get Petrovic. But no, Philip Jorgensen. I'm sorry, probably they'll have to sell you. Robert Sanchez has to be sold come end of the season. There's no point. And I don't want this thing of, oh, we're waiting to make profit of Robert Sanchez. Sometimes, even in business, you count your losses and let things go for the long run. The long run. Let's put I've come to the end of this live stream. Thanks to all those who have watched. Please, if you just want to support the channel by subscribing and liking the video. But other than that, I can't say you should like this video because the team hasn't played very well. I'm not even particularly happy about it. So I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I'll see you on yet another video or another live stream. So do have a splendid rest of your evening.